Ukraine has officially hijacked the U.S. war in Iran. The Trump administration's in a state of absolute panic as they spin the fact that the war in the Middle East is completely out of control. And they're forced to admit that our military is just scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to THAADs and interceptors. And it's gotten so bad at this point that we're letting Iranian missiles slip through the defense net because we have to conduct tactical triage on assets on the ground. So all the propagandists on the legacy state networks debate whether we're sliding into World War III, which is a near certainty at this point, or they're actually missing the entire major strategic and macroeconomic story that's actually hiding in plain sight. Like I said, that's the Ukraine hijack. The truth is, Kiev isn't standing at the doorstep of the Pentagon with a tin cup anymore. No, they've executed a hostile takeover of American foreign policy. By taking out an Iranian weapons transport in a landlocked sea hundreds of miles from the front line, Ukraine didn't just sink a shipment. They delivered a violent, high-definition sales pitch to Washington and Riyadh. They hit the port Olga 2, a heavily sanctioned Russian cargo vessel, dead in the water in the Caspian Sea. You have to understand the geography here. The Caspian Sea is a closed loop. At the United States Navy, they can't get there. Western sanctions, they can't physically stop a hull moving from Iran to Russia in those waters. The State Department can issue a strongly worded memo all they want, but they have zero kinetic reach in the Astrakhan region. But Ukraine does, and they just proved it. As of yesterday morning, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi is officially threatening retaliation, and the Ukrainian ambassador to Israel went on television confirming that they destroyed the cargo, which consisted of drone and missile components. The message from Kyiv is blunt. Like, the security umbrella that you're relying on in the Middle East is completely broken, and we hold the intellectual property to fix it. Ukraine didn't get dragged into the US-Iran war, they have subverted it. They fused the Eastern European front with the Persian Gulf to turn an uncertain plea for foreign aid into an indispensable, hard-nosed security contract. They realized they could no longer rely on a moral argument of defending democracy because moral arguments don't survive in the American political cycle anymore. Instead, they audited the geopolitical landscape, identified the exact point of maximum leverage for the current White House, and drove a wedge into it. And that wedge sounded a lot like a drone. They aren't the victims of an expanding war. They're the primary architects. Listen, they've been absolutely taking it to Moscow. They've engineered a transcontinental crisis to ensure their own survival. So what they're doing is they're forcing the hand of the global superpower in the region, the United States, and they're proving that American isolationism is structurally impossible to actually win this conflict. Let's follow the money and the munitions. To understand why Ukraine just deliberately kicked the hornet's nest in the Caspian, you have to look backward. You have to look at the trauma from March 2025. That was the day that Washington pulled the plug. They blinded Kyiv in the middle of a kinetic offensive to see if they'd break, and all this was done in an effort to force Kyiv to the negotiating table and conserve strategic assets for the Middle East. The U.S. abruptly suspended vital intelligence sharing, commercial satellite imagery from the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, the real-time targeting data from HIMARS pipeline, signals intelligence on Russian troop movements, all gone in a matter of hours. The lights went out across the Ukrainian command structure. And European NATO allies were absolutely panicked because they realized they didn't have the apparatus, the bandwidth, the satellite constellation to replace the American feed. It was a brutal, pragmatic, truly capitalistic shakedown. And it worked in the short term. It forced a temporary freeze on the battlefield. But for Kyiv, it was a terrifying wake-up call because it proved that the transactional politics in Washington right now, being a noble democratic cause, means absolutely nothing. If the US views your war as an isolated border dispute, your funding is always going to be the first thing on the chopping block. When domestic politics shift, when inflation spikes, when a new administration wants to score a quick diplomatic W. So Ukraine rewrote a diplomatic operating model from the ground up. They realized they couldn't afford to be the charity case anymore. They had to become a structural necessity. How do you guarantee a permanent supply line from a White House that's obsessed with the Middle East? You weave your survival directly into America's most immediate problem. Zelensky stopped asking for favors and started offering solutions. The U.S. is currently watching its Gulf bases take hits. More flag-draped coffins come off the flight line. And we're watching our security umbrella collapse under the weight of Iranian engineering. Ukraine walked into the room and said, hey, We have the raw telemetry data proving that Russia is providing satellite surveillance for those strikes against your troops. We have the exact IP required to blind the Shahed swarms. They didn't just merge the wars, they merged intelligence requirements. The strike in the Caspian was the final proof of concept. We're the only ones hitting the supply chain that's currently burning down your Gulf infrastructure. If you want to understand how Ukraine is actually pulling this off, you have to look at the map, specifically the transcontinental logistic corridors that are keeping Russia and Iranian war machines alive. Because the Houthis have turned the Red Sea into a no-go zone, Western sanctions have choked off traditional maritime shipping, and the entire Eurasian supply chain is desperately pivoted to the Caspian Sea, and of course through the overland routes through the Caucasus. This brings us to the International North-South Transport Corridor, the INSTC. Now, freight volumes moving between Russia and Iran through this corridor exploded in early 2026, climbing towards an annual run weight nearly 27 million tons. Azerbaijan is sitting right in the middle of this route. Right? They're operating as the ultimate geopolitical toll booth. Baku is collecting transit fees on every truck moving through the Araz Valley bypass and the Astara bottleneck. Whether a truck is carrying Russian grain, raw timber, or sanctioned Iranian drone components, Azerbaijan is getting a cut. They are monetizing the supply chain without actually taking a shred of military risk. So, Ukraine decided to introduce the military risk. Right? When a Ukrainian drone hits a ship in the Caspian, like the Port Olia 2, it doesn't just sink drone parts. It sends a shockwave through the Lloyd's of London insurance desk, just like it did with the Strait of Hormuz, just like it's doing right now with the Red Sea. You're not just looking at a fire, you're looking at the reason your trans-Eurasian freight costs just jumped 15% overnight. Playing defense against $20,000 Shahed drones is a losing mathematical game for Kyiv. Right? You can't win by swatting bullets out of the sky. You have to get rid of the delivery trucks before they actually reach the launch pads. Ukraine is deliberately jacking up maritime insurance premiums and strangling the only stable economic lifeline Russia and Iran have left. But here's kind of where the masterstroke happens, the Saudi axis. In late March 2026, President Zelensky landed in Jeddah and signed the multi-year defense cooperation agreement with Saudi Arabia. Right, Ukraine immediately deployed over 200 of its top electronic warfare and air defense specialists directly to the Gulf. Riyadh has a massive problem. Their refineries, oil terminals, the desalination plants are all being targeted by Iranian drones, and the US Patriot missile stockpile is basically completely tapped out. Interceptors cost millions of dollars each. The drones cost a few thousand. We all know how this has been going because this has been an asymmetrical nightmare for conventional powers that's really thrown the world into a global energy crisis. Ukraine looked at the Saudi defense grid and essentially said, we're the only nation on earth with 4 years of hard battlefield tested data on how to blind a Shahed drone with acoustic arrays and localized electronic warfare. We're going to build your defense network, but in exchange, you use your lobbying leverage in Washington to keep our supply lines open. Ukraine is operating in the Gulf right now because they hold a total monopoly on the exact intellectual property required to stop Iran. They bypassed the Pentagon completely and went straight to America's landlord. By structurally fusing these three theaters together, Ukraine has engineered the ultimate sunk cost trap for Washington. The White House thinks that they're the ones that are holding the leverage, but if you actually look at the grid by merging these three wars, Ukraine has made it so that abandoning Kyiv is now functionally equivalent to surrendering the Persian Gulf to Iran. Right? It's a geopolitical checkmate that Washington never saw coming. If the Trump administration decides to cut off funding to Ukraine to appease the domestic voting bloc or to pivot resources to Pacific, right, they don't just lose Eastern Europe. They instantly blind themselves in the Middle East. They lose the only forward deployed intelligence apparatus capable of actually tracking Russian satellite surveillance. And they alienate the only allied force that knows how to shoot down Iran's drones on a budget. This is the new reality of the 2026 battlefield. We've entirely left the era of the just-in-time supply chains that dominated the peace dividend of the 1990s. We're now living in the world of just-in-case military logistics. When a cheap piece of flying plastic can shut down transcontinental trade routes, Right, force shipping conglomerates to reroute entirely around the Cape of Good Hope and artificially inflate global freight charges by double digits, security becomes the ultimate global currency. The nation that can provide that security controls the trade routes. Now, Ukraine realized that the only way to survive the American political cycle was to become the indispensable toll collector on the new global security grid. They understood that you don't win a proxy war by asking for permission. Right? You win it by making yourself too structurally important to fail. Ukraine is not a proxy anymore. What they are is a prime contractor. While the West is busy playing checkers with sanctions that just don't work on these kind of regimes, the East is pouring concrete and moving munitions. Geography dictates destiny, and right now, the architects in Kyiv are rewriting the map. Right? They took a localized conflict and weaponized the global supply chain to ensure that they actually have a seat at the table. It's really a magnificent thing to watch. The media is making this as chaotic as possible, but the fact is this isn't chaotic. It's just under-audited, but we're going to fix that on the next one. This is the first of a three-part series of this new conflict that's opening up, this new area of operations in the Caucasus and the Caspian Sea, and that's exactly what we're going to look at in the next video. We're going to zoom in on the Caspian. We're going to zoom in on the trade routes, and you're going to have the full picture on what's actually happening in the region. Food for thought as always. Like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Take care.